Hello and welcome to the Process Over Profit podcast. My name is Jack Fleming, and I get to introduce Girard Newkirk. How are you today?
Doing great, my friend. How's it going, Jack? Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. I'm doing great. I cannot complain. This weather is just firing me up. I'm super excited to be outside, and the pollen sort of affects me today, honestly. But this weather is honestly why people live in Wilmington, and so can't complain. Started the morning off great.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better. The weather can't get much better than 70, 75 and sunny.
Oh, yeah, you can't. But yeah, just to dive into it, why don't we start off with giving a little bit of background on you, just so everyone sort of knows how you started Gensis Block, and we can just go from there.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jack. Again, thanks for having me on. Well, my name is Girard Newkirk. I'm co-founder and CEO of Gensis Block. I was actually born and raised in Burgard, North Carolina, which is about 25 miles up the road from here in Wilmington. I kind of started out, actually I was a retail executive. I worked with Belk. I worked with Macy's out in California, Silicon Valley. I was vice president out there, and that's really what got me inspired in the technology and the startup scene.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came up conceptually with Genesis Blog really through my kind of adventures in the Silicon Valley startup ecosystem. And I saw that there was so much focus on technology startups, on unicorns, on companies growing 10x, that the small business, lifestyle entrepreneurs, small business owners, the people that really add value to the economy were kind of being left out. It was just really a different type of game. So the whole Genesis Block concept, the foundation for that was through my experiences out there. And then I moved back here in late 2018, and my wife Tracy and I began to conceptualize this idea of bringing community, collaboration, and creativity together under one roof, and helping small business owners and entrepreneurs scale their business and get to the next level using network. Some of the same concepts with co-working spaces, but really tailoring our approach to helping small business and economic development in our communities, with focusing on Wilmington and the Cape Fear region.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I guess you came back because you just love the area, but like, why Wilmington and why now?
Well, I'm from this area, so it was always a dream to eventually come back. And when I was a little boy, my dream was to come back and be like a business titan in this area and lift entrepreneurship in this area. I grew up in a rural area where we didn't really have access to things like accelerators or incubators or places that will help you start and grow your business. And I thought I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset, and I thought that was a big need in our community. And then when I got back here and saw how rapidly that the community is growing and all the opportunities, it just fit like a glove. But I was, like I said, I was born and raised here. A lot of my family's here. So I was always eventually going to come back around. So the timing was just stars aligned. The timing's perfect now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. It's really cool to see sort of just business growth in Wilmington right now and entrepreneurial growth. I know what you, and then there's also a few other co-working spaces that have opened up in town. So it's really cool to see sort of the boom, and hopefully there's more business and things that follow the boom as well. But for everyone listening, we connected actually through CIE. We've been on some 1 Million Cups Zoom calls together, and I just honestly reached out because I've just seen what you've been doing. I got to see you a little bit at the craft space grand opening, but I didn't have time to get away from the conversations I was in and hunt you down.
Yeah, that's really neat what they're doing down there off Princess craft space.
Yeah, so. It's really cool. Honestly, like obviously there's other marketers involved in their thing, but part of my job is just go out and network with people. I'm just so young too that I can learn literally from anyone and everywhere I go. And so I also just love being around people. So
absolutely.
Networking is great. And I'm glad to see that the sort of cargo area and what they're doing is booming too.
I think that area is going to be, I know you probably know this, Wilmington is the #1 inbound city for 2020. And so there's going to be a lot of new people moving in to the area. So a lot of these communities like the Cargo District, Brooklyn District, Brooklyn Arts District, Castle Street, obviously downtown, all the tremendous residential and commercial that's going to be coming downtown. Wilmington, if you are a young entrepreneur or older entrepreneur, if you're someone that wants to build your dream and live with purpose, Wilmington's a really great sell. It's a really easy sell. So
I know, like for me, I came here to go to school and I just stayed.
Yeah, man.
Like it's sort of hard for me to want to leave the beach in this sunny weather.
Yeah, for what? To go where?
But I mean, in the beginning though, I felt it's sort of hard to get started in entrepreneurship though, especially if you're newer and younger. You just don't know where to start. So like I wasn't even involved in things that CIE were doing when I was in school, or I was mainly just looking at like YouTube videos and learning from online sources. In addition to what I was learning throughout the classroom. But even then, like marketing things and entrepreneurial things that they teach in the classroom is continually changing as well. And so it's real life experience that's super influential to young entrepreneurs these days.
Yeah, I mean, genuine knowledge can only be obtained via direct experience. So I think UNCWCIE, I mean, that's an incredible organization with Diane and Laura and Gabby and Chloe and the team over there. And so part of what we wanted to do at Genesis Block, because we work a lot with UNCWCIE, is exactly for people like you. How do we make it easy to enter into entrepreneurship and immediately be able to tap in to what that entrepreneur's needs are, what their dreams and visions are, and how can we provide them with the resources that they need to grow and strengthen their venture. So,
yeah, and I've seen some of what you've been doing with that. What I guess things do you offer for your tenants and people wanting to come in and I guess who need business help or want some assistance?
Yeah, well, we're located right here downtown. Our physical address is 20 Rice Alley. We're located right behind the Federal Building on Princess Street, so it's really easy to find. And here we have almost 5,000 square feet of space. So we offer co-working. We offer private offices, designated spaces. We also have meeting rooms. We have an event space here. And we have a lot of events. So we offer some of they're hybrid, some are virtual, a lot are in person. But it provides entrepreneurs, small business owners, and early stage startups an environment where they can collaborate, meet with potential founders, potential capital resources, providing them with the environment that they need in order to grow. The second thing we do is we have an entrepreneur academy where we have a couple of different programs. Our Jumpstart Academy focuses on entrepreneurs at the very early stages. This is a person just had that inspiration, that big idea. Our Jumpstart Academy, the goal of that is to basically validate that idea and get them the information and education they need to make sure that it's a viable business in order for them to model out and begin to take it to market. And then we have the Genesis Block Back on the Block Minority Accelerator. This focuses on minority and women-owned businesses. It's a 16-week intensive program. The design of the program is once they complete it, they have everything that they need to be investable as far as getting access to the financial resources they need to grow and scale their business. And then the last thing that we are working on here is a technology platform called Anza. It's going to be released soon, and it pairs minority and women-owned businesses with prime contractors and anchor institutions to help them with contracting needs and to help kind of increase minority participation in the contracting process. And like I said, all that we really pride ourselves on providing an environment for networking and events, and for you to be able to meet that person here or interact with that person that's going to take you to your business to the next level.
Yeah. How have you seen, I guess, minority-owned businesses grow, or, I mean, I don't even know how, not grow. I mean, I've seen what you're doing, so I think it's growing, but what's sort of the landscape of minority-owned businesses right now?
Yeah, well, we've seen a lot of interest. We had applications for our accelerator back in January. We had almost 70 companies apply to be in the accelerator. So that gives you a sense of the robust ecosystem that's out there. But, you know, we feel that it's going to be, they are thriving. We have a few companies that we've been working with even before we opened Genesis Block. And those businesses were, even with the challenges that we were facing during COVID, those businesses were still growing. They were still picking up new clients. They were expanding their operations. So we think that a lot of what's needed in the community is technical skills, access to networks, access to capital, and then kind of a framework for you to be able to have that collaborative environment to grow and scale your business. And this is why we focus so much at Genesis Block on creating that. But we think that the landscape looks great for minority and women-owned businesses. And the community has been so supportive. It's wonderful to see everybody working together in the community, from New Hanover County, the city of Wilmington, WDI, DBA, Castle Branch is a great partner, Live Oak. Let's see who else we got up here. University, UNCW. So we have so many great partners in the community, and just regular community stakeholders and citizens. It's really been a great story at Genesis Block of collaboration and our community working together.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the pictures of your events.
Yeah, man.
I've seen some that are more minority focused, but I've also seen a lot that are just
absolutely
mixed.
Absolutely. We have our co-working space here it's totally mixed and it's totally inclusive. And that's really what we focus a lot on is we want to remove the divisiveness and try and unlearn all of the physical archetypes, ideological archetypes that divide us, and focus on what really binds us together, and that commonality, which is we all want community prosperity.
Do you see that as helping both business sides?
Yeah, I really do.
In general, or what are you seeing in being a combined space?
Yeah, I think it helps both, because I mean, if you come here to Genesis Block, you'll see everyone working together. I mean, everyone's all smiles. We keep a real cool kind of feng shui type environment, high vibrational environment. So yeah, you see nothing but community collaboration. And we not only want to be a model for business interactions, we want to be a model for how we can operate as a society as we work together, and sit down and have conversations. We have a lot of community forums where we just sit down and just chat it up, talk about things that are going on, and talk about how we can reconcile and move forward. So it's a really good environment here at Genesis Block. It's all about collaboration and people working together, inclusiveness. We appreciate humanity and the unique expressions that we all are. Yeah,
and making content is sort of why, or just bring awareness to things is also sort of why I want to do the podcast. Is more that I'm using it to obviously talk with influential business leaders, and again, not for me here and there, but it's more to help others and just spread general business, marketing, and entrepreneurship knowledge.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that's really the most important thing, man. Is the conversation is really the most important thing, man.
Yeah. But with that, obviously, there's a ton of support from the community for you. How are there any tangible ways that we can, I guess, help as, let's say, a white business owner help minority-owned businesses more, or recognize it better, or do you have anything to touch on that? I don't even know what to say, honestly.
Yeah. But and that is it, because it is such a kind of the climate is so sensitive to those things. But we have a goal here. And part of the reason why we have a membership and a sponsorship model is so that people have the ability to interact. And so we're trying that. Right now we're at about 47 members. Our goal this year is to have 100 members in a community or co-working or whatever. And we just encourage the community to come out and be a part of. We would love for you to join Genesis Block, obviously, but we have a lot of events, especially on Wednesday, where we have community conversations where we can just sit down and just chat. And most of the time we're talking business, but then it gets into the networking, and it gives an opportunity for people just to meet, bond, and connect, and build a relationship together. Because I've had so many people reach out and say, what can we do? And we operate from a sense of empowerment here at Genesis Block. We don't really want to cast a shadow over anyone and make them feel as if they have they're beholden to anything just because of circumstances from the past. We really want to be an inspiration to move together, and how do we work together and collaborate together to build an incredible Wilmington. We have and I know you may know this, Jack, but we have the 91st ranked startup ecosystem in the world. There's almost 9,000 cities. There's almost 9,000 cities in the world, and Wilmington ranks number 91. So we have the bones and the foundation to build a really dynamic entrepreneurial ecosystem, a place where people can thrive in business, thrive in community, thrive as far as being on the leading edge of innovation. And we just want to help cultivate that at Genesis Block.
So would you say it's just more of just being connected and just being around each other in a diverse climate is basically what's helping people grow?
Absolutely.
Everyone grows. Sweet.
Absolutely.
What are some tools you learned from Silicon Valley that have transferred over to what you're doing now and what your goals are?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing I learned out there was to stop using the term fail and use the term learning. So it's not failings, it's learnings. And you want to learn more, and you want to learn faster than your competitor. And that requires a lot of designing things that can be tested and getting feedback. And so I think that's really if you would ask me what the core principles were, because you take Genesis Block, for example, we initially started this out to be a lot less focused on building a business environment. We wanted to build more of a social environment. But our calling and really the need from the community was to build a thriving business environment. And I think had I not been in that mode from still kind of Silicon Valley and testing and getting feedback and moving fast, we probably would have gone down a path that would have been unsuccessful for us. But yeah, those are the things that really stuck to heart. I used to go to Apple's campus, and they had a lot of the best innovators in the world out there, and that was kind of the comprehensive message that came from all of them. It's like you have to be in a position to learn, and the only way you can learn is to ask questions and then test your hunch or your gut, and then take the feedback objectively.
Yeah,
and that's based on that.
That describes entrepreneurs, I think, pretty well. And that we don't, yes, like failure is a term and failing is a term, but we almost sort of reorganize it in our heads that it's more of like, okay, it's just a learning experience and it's a growth tool, not just like, oh, fail, I'm gonna bat myself down now for it.
It's just part of the process.
Yeah, and hence the name of the podcast.
It's part of the process. It's part of the process.
We dig the process of building things and the little actions of failing and learning from experiences, learning from others, networking, building a community. We value that more than money itself. Yeah,
man, that's the soft skills. You know, I hate that term. I didn't want to use that term. I say the secondary or derivative skills when it comes to entrepreneurship that are so important is how can you build relationships, man. And that's the other thing too. I realized that it wasn't about your status or your credentials. I mean, so I met so many people out there that didn't even go to college, or, you know, it wasn't the Stanford crowd. It was just, how can you build relationships? It was so much based on networking, and I did when I was out there. I lived in the startup scene. I went to every meetup to learn as much information as I possibly could, to meet as many people as I possibly could, and then begin to build relationships. And I think that's one of the keys. It can't be overstated.
Surrounding yourself with like-minded people. What are some tips you have for being around businesses and knowing sort of as a business accelerator and there's a plane going overhead again.
It's probably coming my way next.
But what are some business tips that you have for right now, seeing the startup scene in Wilmington, maybe take that into account, but just general entrepreneurial tips for businesses getting started?
I think, we kind of talked about it. First of all, we talk about it here at our Genesis Block Entrepreneur Academy. Fall in love with the problem, not your solution. So really get an understanding of what the problems are, what problems people are facing, tying it into whatever, where your passion is. The second thing I would say is get immersed into a network of people that can support and help and grow you. So, as I know we're coming back online now after COVID, but being in an environment where you can meet people that can inspire you, that can potentially connect you with collaborators is very important. And then 3, work on the mindset, shifting the mindset from even small things, from failings to learnings, and elevating your mindset to understand that you can be and create and build exactly what you want to build. You just have to embrace the process. So loving the problem, not the solutions, getting networked and connected, and then shifting the mindset to be successful.
And what are some, I guess the other end of the spectrum, what are some issues, or not issues, but what are some struggles, maybe is a better term?
The don'ts
that you've seen.
I would say the innovator's bias is number one. You just kind of fall in love with your solution is the hammer and everything becomes a nail. So you just try and apply it to everything versus listening to what the core problems are and showing how you can add value. I think the second thing that we see a lot of is people not wanting to invest the time and becoming a subject matter expert. I read a quote, it takes 10,000 hours to truly become a professional. And some people shortchange the unsexy part of entrepreneurship, which is the reading, the research, the digging into the details, asking questions, getting feedback from the market. And then the third thing is not isolating yourself. It's so important to me to be out and be connected and understand what's happening at the street level, if you will, or behind the scenes. So getting really immersed in the community, don't try and stay back and become your own island.
That's good. What are some emerging trends that you see in the business world? Maybe it's within your own little community, or maybe it's in Wilmington, because there's a lot of things going on in Wilmington.
There's a lot of things going on in Wilmington, right?
But
I think that this area there's going to be a resurgence in light manufacturing industry and distribution. I think the work that's happening at the port, the potential for the rail realignment across the river communities in Brunswick, Nevaeh, and all of these areas, beginning to focus more in those industries, light manufacturing, like as I said earlier, the port. I think we're going to see a resurgence in manufacturing businesses. And two,
cheap land too, and that we're literally waterline,
right? And the port's right here. You got 140, you got I-40. It's literally the midway point between 200. It's a 2-day trip for like 80% of the population. So it only makes sense that we would be a distribution and logistics hubs, and I think we have an opportunity to capitalize on that. And the second thing, I think, with all of the new inbound traffic moving in from other areas, if you look at the demographics on this is a lot of people that have, kind of retired or sold their nest egg. So they're looking for quality of life. They're not as value conscious. They're more experience conscious. And then you have a lot of young people that are entrepreneurs that are moving in that realize that non-discretionary, that discretionary income is going to be coming into the area. So I think it's going to be a very creative Wilmington. I think you're going to start to see a lot more of the arts downtown. And I think you're going to see a lot more unique restaurants coming in and entrepreneurs that are going to be focused on creating dynamic experience to pair with the new population coming in.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. Me too, my friend.
I love asking people about what they think about future things, because more than not, I'm not going to say it doesn't happen, or usually people, if they're within communities and see the climate of things, people can pretty much call shots.
Yeah.
And I think exactly what you're saying is true, and that it's obviously like seeing craft space is a good bring up two different industries in one. Like there's super creative people, also working with entrepreneurs, but also it's sort of its own manufacturing thing as well.
And the market that they have with us having access to all these shipping containers, that's really an idle asset. So if you can figure out a way creatively to take an idle asset that's probably that doesn't have much use anywhere else and come up with a creative solution, now you have craft space.
What has been your, I guess we can touch on marketing a little bit, just because I don't want to forget about it. What has been, you've been doing a really good job, very good job at just being around, getting, I've seen you at events, you've probably obviously you have big people supporting you, and so you're on the news and all too. What has been your way to market, I guess, what you're doing, and what have you found effective and what have you not so far found effective?
Okay, that's a really good question. Well, we leaned a lot on leveraging social media, but we produce a lot of content, obviously. We try, and my wife Tracy and I, we live, especially prior to COVID, we lived at all networking events. We stayed immersed in the community as much as possible. But for us, we're on the ground a lot. We really are. We really adhere to the principles that help in the business class, trying to build an entrepreneur class. So we do a lot of work in the community, which kind of gives us the credibility whenever we go out and people see posts, they react to it. But for us, we try and get as close. We fall in love with the problem. We try and get as close to where things are happening, and then we try and build content that provides a solution for those things. But for us, the Greater Wilmington Business Journal, they've been tremendous. WWAY, WECT, and I like to shake hands and kiss babies, so we just reach out to them, and let them know what stories we have going on, and let them know how we're trying to build community. And like I said, the community has been so receptive. But we spend a lot of time on social media, producing content that's relevant, and we spend a lot of our marketing is just person to person, and within building our own network, and then having people within your network speaking for you. And so that's kind of built upon itself. So social media is important, but I think just as important is having a footprint in the community and connecting with people that can help promote your mission and staying out there and staying connected.
Do you find that making content for business and entrepreneurship is hard? There's a lot of, I don't want to say there's stereotypes and people are glorifying entrepreneurship almost because people are seeing the good things about overnight successes,
Mhm.
and people spending money on things that are super prideful, honestly. But
Yeah.
so people are seeing that a lot, but people aren't necessarily glorifying the hard days. A lot of people are doing a good job now of being like, okay, this is really hard. A lot of businesses fail. I'm literally failing. People are becoming more vulnerable. But
Yeah.
is that affecting how you make content and how it's seen?
Well, a lot of our content is really organic. It's about our own experience. It's about lived experience. So for us, it makes it pretty easy. You do see, I mean, the entrepreneur mindset motivation is what we like to call it. That industry is huge, it's big. And so everyone is, like you said, they try and highlight the extravagances of the lifestyle, but they don't talk about the 99% of the time when you're kind of, in the grind. And so a lot of our content it has a positive message to it. It's really focused on the entrepreneurial mindset and create a positive flow and vibration and being a deliberate creator in what it is that you're doing. But we also are really driving what our experience is and how, this work versus this not working. So a lot of it's driven by empirical experiences. And a lot more of our content is really in promoting our companies that are here and our existing businesses and trying to give them as much exposure as possible. So we shoot probably 70% of our marketing is marketing our other businesses.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, it does.
Just easy organic content, helping literally just it's you helping businesses. It's super simple. It's literally just what you're doing. You don't really even need to like set it up and need to think of it ahead of time. You're just like, okay, I'm just gonna take a picture during this event and see what this
that's pretty much it.
Smile on someone's face.
That's right. That's what we're gonna do later on today. We had a big event last night for Meatballs, Chicken and Ribs and Burger. We had a really great turnout, but we got 4 companies that we're working with for that shopping center development, Fuller Capital, Hip Architecture, McKinley Builders, Meatballs, and Gensis Block, and we're all working together to bring this multi-million-dollar project to life in Burgaw. And basically what we're going to do is we took some pictures for the event, and we're just going to post basically what I just said. It's going to bring 30 jobs to the area.
It was Instagram.
Yeah.
But, we can go into a little bit about you, I guess, working with your wife, Tracy. How is it sort of being, I guess, since you're both entrepreneurs, business people, but also a couple, how is it being around each other like almost 24/7 and like, and I guess you both have the same goals, and so it's a passion driver, but how is it working with your wife?
Well, being married to Tracy, first of all, we're like madly in love with each other. So it's really easy to be around each other all the time. And we, from a business perspective, we're aligned in what our goals are. For what we're doing for our family, we're aligned with what our goals are. And what we want to do for the community, we're aligned with what our goals are. So that provides a really great foundation.
So no issues whatsoever.
No issues, right? No issues at all. I guess
Sunshine and roses over here. Sunshine and day. I don't even know what the saying is.
She says I'm spoiled. So that's probably the only issue. So sometimes I can probably be a little bit of a knucklehead. But other than that, man, we love working together. I love working with my wife and building. We have a vision to build this together. So it's nothing better than waking up with and going to bed with the person that you're building this dynamic environment with. So, so I mean, we had a couple's small biz studio, I think for February. And so we had a lot of couples in the area that were in business together. And the one thing that came out about it that was consistent is you have to know when to cut it off and just stop talking about work. Give yourself some levity. Last weekend, Tracy set up for us kind of like a spa day, a sauna, just to kind of get away and get some levity, to kind of recharge. I think that's one of the most important things is to know when to cut it off, when to let it go and just be married and not be entrepreneurs and all this.
Yeah. Even though as an entrepreneur, you want to be like, okay, I'm working on this 24/7.
And it could be me. So
I'm living and breathing it.
Yeah, she has to talk me off the list. Well, I don't know. It's kind of balanced. Sometimes I think I'm probably would stay in this space all the time. And then sometimes she's just like, no, we're done. And then when I can sense that she's getting to her limit, I try and preempt and say, no, we're done. We'll catch you back up tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, you got any tip? I know we mentioned some of this earlier, but you got any tips for younger people? Obviously, like getting involved, networking, and just building those 10,000 hours so you know what the subject matter. Do you have any tips for younger people? Let's say people in college who want to get into business.
Sure, it's great to read, but it's also good if you can find someone. I would have interned. Like if I had to do all over again, I would have just set up an intern at a startup and not ask for one dime. I think sometimes we're so focused on the monetary element that we don't value or we don't place proper value on those other activities that can really drive wealth in the future. So I would encourage anyone that's in college is to go work at a startup, find a startup and go beg the person just to let you hang out for 3 months, because that experience would be tremendous. The second thing is, like I said earlier, Jack, the getting involved in networking and the figuring out what the problems are with wherever it is it's your passion or whatever industry that you want to enter into. Do a really good job of finding out what the problems are, what's in the marketplace now, and how you can do something a little bit different to help the customers just achieve their desired outcome. And the third thing I would say is dream really big. Dream really, really, really big, and don't put a governor on what it is that you want to achieve. And go ahead and set your sights on doing the absolute best, and then reverse engineer it to move forward with it.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great tips. Do you feel like at all people would even hear that and like hear tips from professionals that are saying, "Oh, be involved, dream big," and almost then feel like, okay, I don't even know where to start. Like people are telling me to do these tips, and I'm all big on obviously like actions, doing things, but and obviously like I consume content too. I know a lot of the times in college I would consume Gary Vee's content, a lot of other entrepreneurs' content, but there's going to be a line between like, okay, what are you ingesting in from other people, but also like, are you actually putting into action and are you actually doing it? Do you think there's a? I mean, I know it, but seeing that there's a lot to do almost, and seeing that okay, I have this big goal. Do you see that there's they just don't know where to start?
Yeah, that's the hardest part, man. It's so ambiguous, and that's why I think the co-working environment is very important, or trying to get access to one, or trying to touch one. I mean, UNCWCIE is brilliant because that kind of gives you an access point. Genesis Block, this is what we try to do. Is give you a starting point. I may not know, you're never going to know it all, but where do I start? So it is good. It's good to start with, if you have access to a co-working space or access to an entrepreneur's ecosystem or a place where you can start, I would start there and then get into network. I mean, and you almost have to use that to bounce off your ideas or to bounce off what's going on, because you can't do it all. We have stages that we put all of our entrepreneurs through. The first stage is ideation. And this is where you're really in the process of understanding what is it that is your idea, whether it's feasible, viable, or whether it's desirable, whether there's even a market for it. And then we go into concept, which is a lot more organized, product development, launch your product, scale it, operationalize it, and then you sell it. And so we encourage people, like you're saying with the young people that are at the very beginning, is in that ideation stage, really figure out, is what are my ideas are desirable? Can it make money? Does anybody want it? So really, those are the 3 questions that you want to ask first. And in order to really ask that, you need to touch with some type of entrepreneur ecosystem that can help you get just the foundation around that. Because there are, like you said, there's so many moving parts, it can become overwhelming.
And I lost my train of thought. I don't know.
So you see, I plugged UNCWCIE like 5 times. So let them know that if they're watching.
Yeah. Oh man, I totally had a question for you, but it just escaped my head. It was okay. Oh yeah, I got it back. Okay. So I had a lawyer on a podcast a couple weeks ago, and he said a lot of what he advises for people to do is all of the pre-work.
Yeah, man.
What's basically what you just mentioned is, okay, actually write up a business plan. Don't just go straight to selling. Basically, like, hey, make sure it's an actual like good idea. Do your market research, write up the idea, write up your revenue, write up it all, and do all that pre-work so it sets you up for success in the future.
Yeah. And what we do, we have more of a lean, we call it a lean canvas.
Mm-hmm.
So what we encourage our companies to do is to build a business model. The business model is the actual product. So we encourage them to first understand who their customer is going to be, what brand, and what problem they're going to be solving. What are the existing competitors in the marketplace? And how do you uniquely define yourself versus them? So it's the same as a business plan, but it's a much leaner concept, and it gets you to the point of knowing whether your business is feasible, viable, or desirable a lot faster. And then you get into your revenue streams and all those and your channels and where you're going to get revenue from. Mm-hmm. So what we teach here at Genesis Block is how to apply those same principles that you talked about with the attorney, but from an entrepreneur mindset and from a very lean form. So you don't need as much capital. You still have to invest the time with doing market research, but it shows you very succinctly what you need to prioritize and focus on in order to get to that point where you can now conceptualize your idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any other goals that you in a short term, or you said dream big?
Yeah, man.
Big and or short goals for Genesis Block in the future? I know you said you want 100 or 100 plus tenants.
That's right. Yeah, we want 100 tenants, 50 sponsors. Now, our 3-year goal is to put 120 companies through our accelerator. But we want to have a Genesis Block location in all of Southeastern North Carolina, and at least one location in Southeastern North Carolina. So there are 14 counties in Southeastern North Carolina over the next 3 years. That's our kind of short-term 3-year goal, is to have at least one Genesis Block location in each county. And a place, as populous as the Cape Fear region, we have maybe 3 or 4. Because we want to keep them small. We don't want to have this massive, large, WeWork type 8-story environment. We want to scale at community level. So if you live in, Brooklyn Arts, there would be a Genesis Block there. If you live on Castle Street, there would be a Genesis Block there. If you live, Carolina Beach, there would be a Genesis Block there. So that we really build community, and we really build a unique set of entrepreneurs and innovators at community level. We think that that's the most effective way to grow small business organically.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. That's a great goal. Those are some great goals.
Yeah, man.
And I love how it's all. I mean, obviously, it's with your business and what you want to do as a business accelerator and co-working spaces. That it's all basically just helping the community.
Yeah. That's what it's all. I mean, that's what.
By your goals are literally to help other people succeed and help their goals.
And I mean, I'm so glad you said that, Jack, because we tell all of our companies to come here. We only succeed if you succeed. We don't really get any triumphs out of all of our business coming in and failing. So we only get kudos, and we only progress as you guys succeed. So we're aligned with that. We've aligned our metrics and our measurements to align with them being successful. So we take that very seriously, and we feel really good about that.
Well, that's awesome, Gerard. I'm glad we could sit down and chat.
Yeah, man.
It's always intriguing to me to just talk with local people and just be around. Obviously, we brought up just being around like-minded people, being around other entrepreneurs, hearing what they're doing, learning from it, and making content to help other people, other entrepreneurs, and the generations behind us.
Yeah, man, absolutely. This is great.
Do you have any calls to action that you want to say before we jump off? So obviously you mentioned your address, and I have the name already under you here. But do you have any? You're on social media. Where can people find you? What can they do to get involved?
Yeah, sure. They can go to genesisblockilm.com. We would love to have members. We would love to have sponsors. We would love to have other collaborators. So genesisblockilm.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at Genesis Block, on Twitter at block_ILM, on Instagram at Genesis Block ILM. So, and if you just type in Girard and Tracy Newkirk, you're going to probably get the phone book as far as ways to connect with us. But or you can email us at info@genesisblockilm.com.
Mhm. Well, awesome. Thanks, Gerard.
All right, my
I'm
friend.
looking forward to seeing you at more events in the future and seeing your success via the success of others.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much, Jack. Thanks for having me on. All right, have a great day.